You're listening to the Blue Collar Nerd Podcast.
These aren't the tradesmen you're looking for. You can go about your business. Move along.
All right, welcome to another exciting episode of the Blue Collar Nerd Podcast. I'm the Plumalorian. I'm joined by
Adam the Electrician.
What's up?
Plum Dangerous,
Yo.
Vader the Plumber,
Hello there.
And we have Nick Electric back.
That's a trap.
What's up, man?
No, we're getting there.
We're talking about union versus non-union in the trades. Danger's going to take lead on this episode. I actually have no experience in the union. I would love to discuss it with everybody here because I'd like to learn more about it. So, Danger, what do you got?
Yes, basically, Adam here recently was talking to us about, I believe, maybe stepping out and going into the IBEW. Adam, correct me if I'm wrong.
You're correct.
But we started having a little conversation between the four of us about it. And myself, before I got back into plumbing, I was a lineman for AT&T, and I was part of the CWA, which is the Communication Workers of America. I couldn't tell you my local because it was like over 10 years ago, and I was only there for 4 years. But I have experience with both, with union and non-union. And so I thought it'd be a great topic. Adam, why don't you tell us like why you're having this, if you're going to go union or non-union, or what you're going to do?
So I'm happy with the company that I work with, but the union offers a pension. And that's something that a non-union, my company offers me a IRA and like some form of a 401k thing, but a pension that's the rest of your life after you retire. You know what I mean? And I'm getting older. I'm 31 and I'm starting to look at my future more and more. And I know I'm getting older though, you know?
No, you're right. You're right.
So I don't want to be struggling in the future because tradesmen, we don't make a whole lot of money. You know what I mean? Like we're not millionaires by any means. And yeah, so that's why I was looking into it. And yeah.
And that's something that I kind of wanted to get out there. I'll say this, unions get a bad rep. They do, always like in like movies and stuff, like the union workers usually are also working for the mob. Like you'll never catch me, coppa.
Well, that's how it sounded.
But it really wasn't. Like it was founded by a group of people I hate to say this, but it was a group of men. And what it was during the industrial age when we were building these massive skyscrapers, and these guys are like literally falling off to their death. And then they're just like, oh, there goes Billy. Got to find someone else to replace him.
Yeah,
like,
7 days a week.
Yeah, you're 7 days a week. They were in unsafe conditions. And so the guys, what they call, and Nick and Vader, please chime in, but they unionized and said, hey, we're not going to take this shit anymore. Like, we're not going to.
Yeah, we banded together against the companies almost.
Right. And we said, we want, workable wages that pay us so we can support our families. We want safety features, which then later on tiered off into OSHA, which I know we shouldn't say that word right now because they may end up on the podcast. But it was just one of those things that I think that at least for us, we need to have a conversation about this.
One of the reasons that everyone has a Saturday, Sunday weekend is because of unions. It was 7 week forever. And then unions were the ones that made it like we need time off for our families too. And that was how the weekends became an actual thing.
They should have pushed for a 3-day weekend.
Yeah.
And if you work 410s, man.
I was just going to say.
I would work 410s. Yeah.
I work 410s, and so I do have a 3-day weekend every week.
Yeah.
And I think too, like in the different parts of the United States, at least, and Vader, please chime in for the Canada side. But there are parts of the U.S. where, like up north, the union. Literally, we had Boston on, and he said that the Boston or the Massachusetts Union controls the plumbing code up there. So they have their own code that they have to follow. Whereas down here in Georgia, we're under the IPC, and we are what is called a work to right state, meaning that we don't have to work under a union as a tradesman to have a job, or one of those things where you either own your own business or you work for the union.
Right. The right to work state too gives the employer the right to fire you for no reason.
Yeah. And I agree with that.
And that's why, so real quick again, In Florida, the IBEW is the only active union left in Florida. There is no other unions really in Florida anymore because of the right to work state. The union here is very weak. It doesn't hold a lot of power because of that.
Yeah. And that's, so was it you, Danger, that said you agree with that?
I do to an extent,
I
but
was gonna
that's
say,
just because, yeah, go ahead.
That's like saying your foreman says, "Oh, just go work on that electrical live," and you say no, and he goes, "Oh, fucking see you later then. I'll get someone that," because you have no rights.
Yeah, no, I see both sides of it. I really do. I understand it. But yeah, so my biggest thing about the union is, all right, so Vader, have you been in both or just one or?
I've been in both.
Okay, so from your perspective, what are the pros of being in a union versus not being in a union?
So there's a few. Wage is definitely one.
Okay.
With union, you're at a higher wage, and
Okay.
your pension, your benefits, like every hour that I work, $2 or $3 an hour or something like $7 an hour goes into my pension. That's big dollars after you've worked for 30 years.
Right.
Some guys are coming out with $1 million on their pension. And that's your retirement.
And that's just money that's like over time given to you after you hit a certain
age.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can take it early, you'll get a penalty. But what happens is everyone in the local, all their money goes into one pool so that it builds interest faster.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But it's all kept track of how much you put in and whatnot.
Gotcha.
And then also you get raises faster too.
That's
When I
correct.
was
So
in, I got a raise every 3 months.
every year, every May, I think it's May 5th, we get a raise, and they usually try and keep with inflation. It's like almost $1 every year.
Dang, that sounds nice. So we have negotiations this year over here in Wyoming, and I'm just south of Jackson Hole, Wyoming. I actually do a lot of work in Jackson Hole, and there's been a couple articles out there. Yeah, Jackson Hole. Yeah, I like to call it the J hole. It's just ridiculous because you got all these Harrison Ford. He has a house there. And anyway, we have all these rich people, these millionaires, these billionaires. They have houses out there, and it's just skyrocketed to the price of living, inflation. I just recently moved back from Oregon, back home down here to Wyoming, and I can't even afford a house. Like literally, I'm living with my in-laws like right now because I cannot find a house. And I love my wife. I moved back here for her because we got pregnant again and she didn't want to do that Oregon quarantine because that was hell. But it's a nightmare trying to find a house right now because everything's so expensive and I can't afford it. And so we've got negotiations coming this year. And so with the IBEW, we also have what's called NECA, and NECA is basically the contractors union.
Yep.
Basically the IBEW, NECA, we get together and we discuss, we have negotiations on, hey, guess what? This is how much us as the IBEW, this is what we want. We want this much in our wage, this much in our annuity, this much in our pension. And then NECA makes a counter offer and we just go back and forth. And I know over here in Wyoming, we do it negotiations every 3 years, but every pay raise is still a year.
That's crazy because when I worked for AT&T, now they may have changed this because I knew that after they laid us all off, this was during the housing market crash. It was a tiered system that based on when you were hired on, when you were getting raises. Now, given the guys that were like 10, 15, 20 years, they were only getting a raise, I believe. And hopefully we have someone that maybe works for or is part of the CWA, but they're getting raises, I think, every 6 to 8 months. But for me, my first year, I got a raise every 3 months. Now, it was only $1.22, I believe, but you got to add it up every quarter, not even every quarter, every 3 months, I was getting $1.22 raise, which added up quickly. But then once I hit year 4, then it slowed down, I believe, to every 6 months, but it was like $2 or $3 every raise. That's very interesting with the IBEW because they've been around forever. I know in Georgia, we have the IBEW and then we have the Pipe Fitters Union, but the Pipe Fitters Union is very weak also.
Yeah. It's the UA, right?
Yeah, correct. Correct. It is. And I know that they get a lot of the commercial and a lot of down in Atlanta, they get a lot of big contracts there. But
Yep.
other than that, they don't get a lot. And for some reason, pipe fitters hate plumbers, which was weird to me.
Yeah.
It's the same
So
thing.
a plumber can fit pipe, but a pipe fitter cannot plumb. That's
Yeah, I worked with a pipe fitter. He was an idiot.
Yeah, but act like they're better than us.
No
and I'm
offense,
just like,
Viking. No offense, Viking.
yeah.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Thank you, Adam. Thank you. But anyway,
No,
going back.
I'm not saying anything. But so the downside, okay, so like union brotherhood, we all stick together, we all agree, we all
Yep, solidarity, brother.
yeah, we all fight the power basically. But there's downsides. Like sometimes I've worked where I've been laid off every 6 months. If you're a good worker, then you stay around longer. But if you're mouthy and stick to the contract how it's supposed to be, and you're not wormy, then
See, I don't know that
you get
terminology. I know what a
That's-
scab is.
essentially the same thing.
Okay.
So someone that's like
For the most part, yeah, because like at the union, we have our contract and we're supposed to follow our contract. When someone's like bending the contract a little bit here and there, that's considered wormy.
yeah, like
So
they'll
like bringing
work-
a tool that's not on the tool list, it's
yeah,
considered
or they'll work the weekend for straight time because
we-
they
oh,
just want to.
We
That's the
used to know a
worst.
guy. We
Yeah.
used to know a guy who used to bring all his Milwaukee tools on.
Oh
his,
my
union
gosh,
job.
I was gonna say that. He was so excited he joined the union.
Yeah. Anyway,
Um, So I worked when I worked private, it was like, I've talked to the owners, why don't you go union? And they're like, if I ever went union, I'd shut the fucking company down. Like I'd just shut it down and start up a new company because I'm not going union. Like they were that hardcore. And I came to realize it's because they're charging me out, they're paying me $25, but they were charging me out at $50 and taking that extra pay in for themselves, for their own pension, for their own benefits, for their own riches, instead of giving it to their employees. It was just
Exactly,
the
yeah.
owner getting more rich. And that's
Yeah.
why they didn't want to go union, because they were so pissed. That's my money. So
My old company, I'm not trying to talk about money or whatever, but at my old company, I did pretty good. I'm not going to go over what I made there or whatever, but they were charging $80 an hour more for my time being on the job. So they were making $80 an hour by me just being on that job.
Yeah.
And that to me is, my old boss has 2 fucking yachts and all this shit, man. And
yeah,
I'm not living that fucking good. You know what I mean? But
that was the
Well-
one thing I said to the owner. I was like, I think I deserve a raise. Every job I've been on and worked for you has finished ahead of schedule. I believe that I deserve a raise. And he said, I can't afford it, as he has 6 supercars in his driveway.
Okay,
Uh-huh.
well,
Like-
hold on. So I'm going to bring it back for a second because I want to go to the non-union side. So I know Vader, you've been non-union and union. Nick, you are union. Adam, you're
Yep.
non-union. But the thing is that one thing that I've learned here recently, and Plum can chime in on this because he basically works for his family's company. But
Yeah.
I've learned here recently because I work for a co-op, so I'm a commission plumber now. And
Yep.
I make a lot more money working a lot less hours doing what I do. But for the longest time, I was an hourly employee. And
Yes.
I don't have a problem with that. I think that's great for any tradesperson or tradesman or plumber or electrician that wants to learn it, that's still in that in-between stage of like actually knowing what they're doing and still needing some help.
Yeah.
But I can tell you that when I'm charging out jobs where I'm charging out $2,000-$3,000 and I'm only making $20 an hour, and and I'll say to my bosses like, hey, I really need a raise. And they're like, well, if you need a raise, you need to work more hours. And I'm like, bro, I'm working 60 plus hours right now. Like, you want me to work 70 plus hours so I can at least make a $1,300 check? Dude, I'm gonna burn myself out. And I know unions get a bad rep, but I know, non-union or just regular hourly wage jobs are sometimes like, that's almost like slave labor. No
Yep.
offense, but I'm just throwing it out there.
So I went and talked to the IBEW and I told them what my wages were and everything like that. And they told me that they could get me a little bit more, but they would also throw in a better benefits package than what I was receiving. And that's where the health insurance, they pay for your health insurance with the union here for my whole
That's a plus.
family.
That's a giant
Mhm.
plus.
Whole package.
So
we-
keep going.
Yeah, we
Uh,
pay my wife for her and her son. she pays close to $700 a month in health insurance.
Oh, ouch.
That's a lot of money a month.
That's a lot. Yeah.
As a Canadian, I don't know what you're talking
It's funny is our health care here is fucking ridiculous now. You can't even go to if you're sick, you can't go to the doctors.
It's crazy, dude.
Yeah.
They won't even let
especially
you in there.
COVID.
Oh, you're sick, you can't come in.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's another thing too, that as a non-union hourly wage employee, now for me, I'm a 1099. So fortunately, my wife works in the company she works for. She actually has phenomenal health benefits. We actually have decent, but health benefits and health insurance. But when I was the one providing it, when I was working for these companies, like I was getting like these garbage, like my deductible would be like $8,000, but I was already paying out like I think $300 to $600 a week in health insurance for all of us. And we go to the doctor and they'd be like, "Oh, that's not covered under your plan."
That'd be $500.
Right. And it was one of those things I was just like, Jesus Christ, like, why do I have this? Like, it's pointless.
Yeah.
And I always tell guys a lot of times I sometimes get a helper, but I tell them, I said, listen, you're getting a bigger chunk than what you would get hourly. And I'm just giving you both sides. And so, being a non-union worker, a lot of times, like I look at union workers and sometimes I've thought about it. Like, now I don't think there is a plumbing union here. Plum, I don't know if
I have no idea, man.
I don't think there is. And I mean, if there is, it's very weak, but I mean, there are times where I've thought about it. Like, if there's a union here, I may join them.
One thing with the unions, though, is they're throughout the United States, throughout Canada. But depending on where you go, some of them are strong, some of them are weak, and it's sometimes it's a risk if you're moving.
And I was going to say the UA as a union is more into big industrial. They don't do so much like residential service and stuff. It's more big commercial buildings.
Yeah.
IBW is about the same too. Yeah, you got residential here and there, but for the most part, IBW likes them big projects.
Yeah.
It's like,
see, it's funny because the company that I work for now, we primarily only do industrial work, and all the unions around me do a lot of little commercial and residential work. And that's where I really hate residential work. I only do it for my family and stuff like that. And I just don't want to be stuck fucking wiring houses the rest of my life.
Yeah. In Canada,
really
it's
easy.
actually,
And it's easy, yeah, but it's just just so mindless sometimes.
yeah.
My
it
brother
can be.
prefers commercial over residential as well.
Me too. Same.
See, I don't even like commercial work. I like industrial work.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Yeah,
I run that big old rigid pipe.
I did industrial for. Yeah.
Yeah, I posted that picture of that rigid threader and stuff, and everybody's, "Oh, what are you becoming, a plumber?" I'm like, "Electricians fucking thread pipe too, dude." Like,
Yeah.
Hell yeah. I saw an electrician one time take the Schedule 80, and he was like, "I need to make a bend," and he took a torch and he put the torch, not near it, but he put the torch on it, and he actually made that Schedule 80 flexible enough to where he could make a bend for a turn.
PVC or like
It-
metal?
PVC, obviously not.
I was going to say
not
Schedule
metal.
80
Yeah,
would be
yeah,
PVC.
Schedule 80 PVC, the
Well,
grade.
'cause rigid pipe.
They
is
make
also
heaters.
Schedule 80, but
Oh,
yeah.
really? Oh, okay. I'm a plumber. So when I say Schedule 80, I'm talking PVC.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that gray pipe. It was residential that we were at, but he made the bend, and he was like, "Yeah,
Yeah, we
I'll take-
use. I think actually, if you use a torch, it's actually highly frowned upon
Yes.
because it weakens the conduit.
Yeah, anytime you bend anything, it kind of stretches it out.
I'm saying
yeah.
when you use a torch, you just be super careful because
Right. You can burn it really easily.
it'll melt, and then you take away from the thickness of the walls of the conduit. Then
And then
Right,
don't
so-
put your gloves next to the torch either.
are you speaking from experience, Nick?
Maybe. Asking for a friend.
I'm hearing all about
It
this.
was a really cold day and my hands were getting cold and I was trying to warm up this PVC and I was like, you know what? Let me see real quick. And yeah, that was really stupid. Man, yeah, it was like probably -10 outside. Not Celsius, Fahrenheit. It
Hey,
was cold. Wind was blowing. Oh, it was rough. It's like, why did I have to do this outside? Tell them, let me inside the garage. Let me warm up. And the homeowner wouldn't let me. All right,
You
it's fine.
So you lit your hands on fire?
Yeah, basically.
Hey, all this talk about IBEW. What about BBW, man?
BBWs are allowed in the IBW. They're very welcomed. Everyone is welcome.
BBW is welcome in my van. I could use that muscle. You know what I'm saying? I just do water heaters all day. I'd be like, I'm gonna move that now, and he'd just be like, just tear it out of the wall.
Oh,
like, damn
gosh.
it!
Boom, spur move, tear it out of the wall. Boom.
That motherfucker could probably been 4-inch rigid by it, like by his hand.
Right over his neck. Just
Motherfucker,
it,
he's
man.
pulling in 750s with his bare hands, dude.
Santo.
I need
shit.
that
He
dude in
could
my
probably
life.
run 500 feet of rigid all day.
But anyways, the point that I wanted to make with this, talking with Adam and everything, and then just in general with Nick having you on, and with, of course, Vader, is that I wanted to get out that union shouldn't be frowned upon, and that it shouldn't be something that like is like when you hear about the union, you're like, oh, now, and I get it. When I worked for AT&T as a lineman, or the full term was an outside plant technician, but the point is that I know that you weren't supposed to work faster than the highest paid guy, and you're supposed to just keep the task and everything, and don't be a super go-getter and try to finish the day out early. But I think that unions get frowned on a lot, especially in areas where we don't have a strong union.
Yeah.
And even I'll even branch off. For instance, I read an article about Starbucks, and Starbucks stores are starting to unionize and everything. And people are like, oh man, that's going to be so bad for business. And it's like, but why? Like, these people need good health insurance, and they need like job security.
Well,
And
I worked for Walmart for 2 weeks. And yeah,
were you the
I did.
greeter? Were you the greeter?
That's
No,
2
I
weeks.
was
Hey,
the lineman.
hi, welcome to Walmart. Hi, welcome to
But
Walmart.
the first thing that they told me when I got hired on was do not sign up for us to become a union. They said that Walmart could not financially afford it. And
Mhm.
I was like, just
That's
thinking,
not
like,
true.
yeah, I was just thinking,
Right. There's a lot of union members that will not shop at Walmart because how hard they push anti-union.
yeah.
So
I mean, literally,
actually,
my first like hour in there, they're telling me you will be approached to join the union, but do not join it. And I'm like, fucking what the hell? But yeah,
so
it
in
didn't
Quebec,
last very long. Yeah.
Quebec is like 95% union. Like basically you have to be in a union to do any work. So when Walmart came in, they basically said, okay, you have to be union. And Walmart was like, nah, fuck it. We'll just bail. And they bailed out of a couple cities because of that.
Yeah.
They do that. There's a documentary about it. They do that, but we're not going to get into that. But yeah, but that's for me, at least. I wanted to just get the word out that there's nothing wrong with unions.
And like we get the bad rep that like union workers are lazy, but Bobby, how many employees did you say that you guys have had that were lazy? Like they're everywhere. Lazy workers are everywhere.
17. I will say this, Danger, and you said about having a bad rap, and I just exchanged my perspective a little bit on the unions just because I met a couple people that would hold that over me. Like, I'm in a union. It's something like special, and they're
Yeah.
rubbing it in your face. And I'm like, dude, I was like, you can be like humble about it. Like when I talk to you guys about it, obviously that's how if I was in one, that's how I would carry myself. I'm not going to rub it in on somebody's face that's not in one.
Yeah. I'm the best
Yeah.
goddamn electrician there is in the universe. And I'm not going around telling people like, hey, I'm non-union, you fucking union, whatever they call them.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I have been looked down upon by union people. Oh, you're not a real electrician unless you join the union.
Right. That's one thing that really bugs me is you get these hardcore bros that are like, oh yeah, union, 100% hardcore all day, every day. And yeah, they find these people that are non-union and they just put them down. And it's the whole point of the union is like, we want to invite you. We want you to enjoy the benefits that we are enjoying. It's a brotherhood. Yeah, sure. You're not part of it or whatever, but I still consider you my brother. You might be, I'm successful being in the union. If you're successful not being in a union, good for you. I'm not going to put you down over it. I'll make memes about it, but seriously, calm down. Move on with your life. Honestly, we're all cool.
Yeah. I've met good union electricians. I've met good non-union electricians. I met shitty both of them, man. Like being in the union and not being in the union, it doesn't make you better at your job.
And as I also own my own company that I'm trying to build bigger, and eventually I would like to go union, but when you're only one person, you can't go union. It's too small. It's once you get
it's hard.
A little bit bigger. Yeah. Like Bobby, when you said that the guy goes, I'm union. You can be like, yeah, my dad owns the company.
Well, yeah, my dick is bigger.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
truck's lifted up higher.
Yeah. My sister's cuter.
Yeah.
And I'll say this. I love the fact that as a whole right now, we're saying like it doesn't matter if you're union or non-union. What matters is how good you are at your trade. And I'll even go farther to say is that my whole thing, and I know Plum can attest for this, and even you guys probably can too, but my whole thing is that know your trade. And I mean, don't know it that someone just taught you like this is how this is supposed to go, and you can use a shark bite here, and you can do this, but know your codes, know your
Yeah.
area, know your amendments, and that's my biggest thing is that I'll have guys be like, "Oh, I'm a plumber too." I'm like, "Oh, cool." They're like, "Are you licensed?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Oh, I'm not licensed." And I'm like, "Cool. You should probably do that because you'll learn a lot more about your trade being licensed and knowing the code book and knowing why things are supposed to be this way." And so that's really my biggest thing is that if you do phenomenal work, whether you're licensed or non-licensed, but know your trade, know your codes, know why we have to do these things this way.
So
Amen.
plumbing in Ontario you can do, if you have your ticket, you can do industrial, commercial, and residential.
Is it a
Where-
gold ticket?
Yeah. Where if you're an electrician, and I may be wrong, but someone will, I'm sure, correct me. But if you're an electrician in Ontario, you can be an industrial electrician, or it's a separate ticket to be a residential electrician. You can't do both. You're one or the other.
Huh.
I know, like over here in Wyoming, as soon as you get your license, you could do anything.
Yeah.
But I know when I was
We're
in
a way
Oregon,
cooler.
Oregon had they had low voltage electricians, they had a license for residential electricians, and then they had a license for industrial commercial electricians.
So this is
Yeah.
how messed up it is in Georgia. So in Georgia, you have a journeyman that says you're a licensed plumber, and then you have a master unrestricted, which means you can do anything and everything. And then you have a master restricted license, which means you can only do residential and light commercial. But here's the like really messed up part. So if you're an electrician and you come over here and you're not licensed and you work under a master electrician's license, you can do work all day. He doesn't have to be with you. If you're HVAC, you can do work all day. That master HVAC guy doesn't have to be with you. But in Georgia, it states in our IPC plumbing code and in the Georgia plumbing code, it states that if you're not licensed, you have to work under the direct supervision of a master plumber, meaning that you can't go out and go do jobs on your own. You have to have that master plumber with you.
Yeah.
But they don't enforce it.
Nope.
So you have a million companies that just have a master plumbing license and everyone works under it. And
That's
they
how it
class.
is. Yeah, that's how it is here in Florida.
I think you guys are pretty much the same as us. I know Alabama is the same as Georgia. And in Alabama, the county inspectors carry a badge, handcuffs, and a gun. So
Oh wow.
found that
Jeez.
out the hard way one time.
Huh. That's cool.
So
Yeah.
I know if you're a licensed electrician in Florida, your license is good in Georgia, Alabama, and I believe the Carolinas too.
We have to amend ours. We have to amend our license for everything.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's for a different conversation. But
Yes, the
go ahead,
union,
Vader.
like I've been saying that the union, plus there are downsides to the union, obviously. Like,
Yes.
Getting laid off, that does happen. You're not going to work basically in construction, you work yourself out of a job. Once that building is done with that company, you get laid off and have to go on a list and wait for another job. You could be out of work for a couple.
Yeah.
And also when we come to negotiations, if you could vote no, but 80% of the other guys voted yes, doesn't matter what the fuck you think, it voted yes. So
Majority rules.
Then you have
Yeah, so-
strikes and everything else.
exactly. So there's pluses and negatives to both sides 100%.
Yeah, so I was told like one of our guys actually ended up becoming a traveler for the union.
Okay.
And he was told that because he was against the president that is now the president, and he was not allowed to say anything. If they found out he posted anything Trump related or anything like that, they were like, he could be terminated for that or something.
No,
like that.
they're not.
Or-
They like to push liberal agenda a lot. For most of my life, I've lived in red states. I lived in Utah. I lived up in Alaska. I lived in Wyoming. I lived in Idaho. Oregon is the very first blue state I've ever lived in. So I'm actually part of the Wyoming IBEW, where most of the guys here, they have a red state of mind. I like to consider myself in between. wasn't a huge fan of this last election. Didn't like either one. But I made a sticker that says, "Let's go, Brandon." That's my name. I thought it was catchy. I liked it. But I had a couple brothers that are like, "No, you shouldn't be doing that." Screw you. I can do whatever I want.
Yeah, I mean,
Right.
But we just got to, I try to ignore the politics. Like they try to push the blue a lot, but it's like both sides suck in my point of view.
There's no good goddamn president. I'll say that.
Exactly. Well, exactly.
And your "Let's Go Brandon" doesn't mean the same as their "Let's Go Brandon."
It's my name. It's me. I play hockey for the company that I work for. They have their own hockey team, and I play for them. And my boss, actually, he's on the team. And I scored a goal the other day, and he goes, "Let's go, Brandon."
They start playing that song, dude.
I ask people when they start talking politics, I go, "Do you have any aluminum foil?" And if they get it for me, then I start making a hat. And they're like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "We're going to have a real conversation here."
Vermin Supreme.
Vermin
Supreme.
I'm not political. I'm a conspiracy theorist, a classic conspiracy
Illuminati.
theorist. No, but I don't do this QAnon. I don't do this flat earth thing. But anyway,
Joe Exotic.
It's little situations a little different. But the main point was that it, and yes, that's one thing that I learned also when I was part of the CWA is that it was very political, and that's just not my thing. I'm a plumber, and I tell people, I said, "Does it affect my job in any way?" They're like, I'm like, not really. Yeah, material costs are like skyrocketed, and we're having a shortage and everything, but that's out of my control. Until the president comes out and says, "We're going to make sure plumbers are never going to make money again," I'm going to be like, "Yeah, I'm not voting for you, buddy." Or if they're like, plumbers are going to make 10 times what they're making now, hey, now you're talking my language.
So one thing that I have found is that guys that are private first and then go union are fucking way better than the guys that went union at 18 years old and have only known union their whole life.
I believe that.
Ouch.
Because sometimes all they do is one thing their entire union career, which is sometimes like just running drain lines.
Just when you worked for a company an owner that says you're expendable piece of shit, basically fucking get in that trench, do that work, and you work your ass off super hard. And then you bring that mentality into the union.
Yep.
You're a much better union worker.
Dude, that's working with 10 times there's gravity, man, in the hyperbolic time chamber and coming out.
Yeah, you got to throw that in there, don't you? Yeah.
If you're diving in shit one week and then going to work plumbing the next week, you're going to be a good plumber.
Because you're just like, that's not my final form.
Yeah, that's right.
I can throw it right back.
That's good.
Anyway, I wanted to just get a real raw conversation. Plum and I have talked about it. Adam had talked about it. I knew Nick was a part of the union, and I love the energy that Nick has. Vader, I knew also that you were a union, but you also had your own company. And it was just like, this would be a great just conversation for us to have just on here, because I know a lot of our listeners, some of them are non-union, some of them are union, and they may have biased opinions on going non-union or going union. And I wanted to have just a real conversation about it.
Hey, real quick, Nick.
Yes.
Would you rather become a non-union electrician or a plumber?
Oh, I was waiting for this question. Oh man, I'd probably have to go non-union electrician.
Hell yeah, brother.
You're missing out now.
Oh man, there's the rattiness in me. Oof.
Hey, I'm working on a reel. I might post it before this airs. It'll probably be posted, but I don't know if you guys remember the movie The Perfect Storm with George Clooney.
Oh,
yeah, of course. Yeah.
And how that, what was that, Danger?
And then also John C. Reilly's in it. Come on now.
Yes. But anyway, it's a sad movie, but like how it ended.
It was awful how it ended.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying, like, where they're basically re-quoting what he said in the beginning of it, where he was talking about, "You're a goddamn swordboat captain. Is there anything really better in the world?" And I was going to say, "You're a goddamn plumber. Is there really anything better in the world?" And then I'm waiting for Adam to chime in on the comments. And he's going to be like, "Yeah, being an electrician."
That better be the first comment we see on that post.
You better pin it too, damn it.
Yes. Yeah.
I might just do that. But anyway, Danger, did you have anything else to add before I close this out? Or
No, not at all.
So I'm just real quick. I'm just curious. How were your guys' apprenticeships?
First,
mine's unique. I worked under my dad, who's the owner of the company, and that's the only person I've ever worked under. I worked with other guys that worked with us that I had to ride along with, which was miserable. But yeah, it was good. It was fine.
But did you have to do schoolwork though, or like what? I don't know anything with plumber schooling.
No,
he's saying that he got his hours signed off at the age of 14.
Yeah, kind of, sort of. That's an exaggeration, but yes.
See, child labor is frowned upon in the union.
Yeah.
See, I was always told that plumbers go to school for 3 years to learn that shit runs downhill.
Yeah,
Yep.
shit look, if
And
shit runs downhill.
Don't bite your
water-
fingernails.
No, it's shit runs downhill. Hot is on the left side. Payday's on Friday, and the boss is always an asshole.
I don't remember that last one. That was good.
Yeah. No, my apprenticeship was basically I went to work for a residential new construction company, and when I felt like I learned enough, which was like 2 or 3 years, then I started jumping around to other companies, learning what I could, and then asking or pleading. And this could be a different podcast, but basically asking, can I get licensed? And them saying no, because in Georgia, plumbing companies don't want you licensed, because if you get your master's license, then you can step out on your own because you can connect it to a business license. And they don't want you to do that because now you're competition. But that's a whole different podcast.
In Ontario, it's 9,000 hours.
Yeah, we don't have all that.
Ours
Ours
is
is-
8,000 hours.
Yeah. Ours is
Yeah, well-
3 years of continuous working for a licensed plumber.
Mine is
Yeah.
a lifetime.
Yeah. Yeah.
So did you
Sign
guys
your
ever
life
have
away.
to do any like schoolwork, like paperwork? And okay.
The-
Yes. You have to jump
I
through flaming hoops.
Yeah. You have first term, second term, third term, and it's 3 months of school. You get laid off, you go to school for 3 months, and then you go back with the company after, hopefully, and then you go and work for another year, and then same thing, you get laid off, go to school for 3 months, and then go work, and that happens 3 times through your apprenticeship.
Jeez.
So ours is that there's 2 classes you can take here in Georgia, and then it's 2 guys that are master plumbers that teach the class, and it's every weekend for I believe 4 weekends, and then that 5th week is when you should be able to sign up to take your test. In Georgia, it's a closed book test, meaning that you can't bring anything in. Yeah, they can't bring
Wow.
anything in. They give you the pencil, they give you the scratch piece of paper. You can bring a calculator in, and then you sit down in like a cubicle, and you have a camera on you that they're watching you while you're taking your test, and it's a computer test. It's
Damn.
multiple choice, and every question is a
Yep.
trick question.
That's when the
Yeah.
Google Lens would come in.
Yeah. It's the same here. They give you a pencil, give you an eraser, give you the calculator. You pull out your book out of an envelope, sit there, and you write it. And yeah.
Yeah. So, and you used to have to plumb in a model home also here in Georgia, but they quit doing that once
Thank
they brought
goodness.
out. Yeah, that was the worst.
So
But,
with the union here in Wyoming, so it's a 4-year program. So basically you work for 6 weeks, and then for a week you drive out to Casper, which was 5 hours for me. And you stay school for a week, go to school, you come back, work for 6 weeks, then go back to Casper for a week. And all I had to do really is basically just pay for my books, which is $100 a year, which wasn't bad. And then just pay for my gas because they actually provided a place for me to stay. But yeah, then you had to have your 8,000 hours in class and out of class. But basically the union paid for my whole apprenticeship besides the $100 a year for my books.
See,
Okay.
the non-union is actually paying. The non-union pays for your apprenticeship too here.
Okay, I'm gonna jump in here real quick. That's a good thing you brought up. So in Georgia, we don't have anything now. Companies may set that up, but and Plum can attest for this. I basically had to pay. You pay about $3,000 here for your test, for your class, and for your books. And here's the kicker: if you fail that test, depending on what class you took, you may have to pay again to go take that class again. Or if the
Yep.
instructor will allow you, he'll let you come back for free. But you still have to pay again to take that test, which is
Right.
$250.
That's how in Wyoming, if you failed a section of the apprenticeship, you had to pay again to go back and do that little section apprenticeship on another weekend.
So actually in Ontario, there's only a couple schools that do the steam fitting, and the Union Hall is one of those schools. So they run it, and it's harder to get in if you're non-union because, again, it's the Union Hall that's running it.
I got you.
Crazy.
Yeah.
This was a very informative episode, guys.
It went a lot better than I thought it would.
No, it was good. It's good. It's good stuff.
Yeah, if
You're
you guys
welcome.
ever have any questions, feel free to message me on Instagram.
Yeah, same here.
No, I'm just gonna send you those weird like videos on TikTok that I've just been sending you.
Right on.
I think he was talking to the fans, not us.
No, I was
Yeah.
talking to Nick. I
No,
send Nick.
was saying.
I have TikTok and I send Nick like the weirdest videos I can find, and no context, just send it to him, and then don't even respond back to when he responds back to it. I'm just like, no, I'm just gonna send you another weird one.
Hey,
Nick-
I enjoy the weird stuff, man.
Like I say, Nick does the same thing to me. I went on TikTok today for the first time in the week, and it said 36 messages from Nick.
It's mostly Star Wars conspiracies, and then like when Boba Fett they crash that little cart or whatever,
Yeah.
Boba Fett
Yeah.
and Grogu go flying, and they're going, oh my sound.
Yeah, it's something.
That's
funny.
Stupid
But
Star Wars stuff. Good time.
That's where I got the why is it spicy?
Yeah, barbecued the Rancor's mouse.
But anyway, Danger, if you got nothing else to add, I'm gonna go ahead and close this out here. All right. I appreciate everybody listening to this podcast. Have a great day.
Peace.
And we'll see you on the next one.
Howdy ho! We're back.
Wicked.
Another
You
episode.
thought-
This is a late
Yeah.
night. You better get your beers out because we're gonna keep going.